Hello everyone, I'm Preston Henderson, undergraduate psychology student. Have you ever been lied to? I know that's a silly question, of course, because everyone's been lied to, a victim of deceit. Even more, everyone has been the deceiver as well. Both instances fill us with negative emotions like guilt, anxiety, and can even lead to the loss of a meaningful relationship. I guess watching Pinocchio didn't work for all of us. Today I will be talking about deception. First I will outline the problem with deception, and then I will give you some defensive strategies against it. That is, defensive strategies to make you lie less and be more honest. I will try to give you some ways to get better at telling the truth, and maybe in turn it will make the world a better and safer place for everyone else. Let's start with a little definition. Deception is to make someone believe something that is not true. I got this definition from the online Merriam-Webster dictionary. The someone in this definition can also refer to yourself. That is called self-deception. And self-deception can sometimes be helpful. I'll explain. Self-deception can be adaptive in more ways than one. Perhaps an illusory image of the self can lead to higher self-esteem. This makes a lot of sense. Shelley Taylor and Jonathan Brown found that positive illusions promote happiness, the desire to care for others, and the ability to engage in productive work. And evolutionary psychologists have found that deceit is a communication skill that animals use to curry favor, attract a mate, and influence others to share food, shelter, and other resources. Humans have gotten pretty good at deceit too, but they have also gotten better at detecting deceit. When people are trying to deceive, they try too hard to suppress their nerves. This is interesting. If they believe the lie, though, then they can get away with it because it does not feel like a lie. But in the long run, this may not be a very good idea. Roy Baumeister and Stephen Scher warn that positive illusions can give rise to chronic patterns of self-defeating behavior, as when people escape from self-awareness through alcohol and other drugs, self-handicap themselves into failure and underachievement, deny health-related problems until it's too late for treatment, and rely on the illusion of control to protect them from the inescapable odds of the gambling casino. These people may be able to succeed in social influence and have high self-esteem through their unrealistic optimism, but they will pay a price for it. Deception creates anxiety for everyone affected by it. The person who's deceiving must remember what they said and to whom they said it to, so they can keep up the charade, creating anxiety for them. If the deceiver is found out, there is a breach in trust, and anxiety is created for the person who has been deceived. If the two people are part of the same social group, which is likely, then there is anxiety created in the social group, and it just keeps on growing. Knowing this, deception is certainly not pro-social behavior. It can get people into serious trouble. Keep in mind this presentation is aimed at people who have a problem with lying, know they have a problem with it, and want to stop it. It's hard to resolve an issue that you don't even care much for resolving. You cannot just magically stop lying on a whim, especially if you've been doing it for a long time and have gotten good at it. At that point, lying is in your repertoire of defense mechanisms, but don't worry, you can change that. These 3 items are what are next up in the presentation. I'll help you with self-criticizing. I'll tell you the importance of truth in our society through an example, and I'll help you with some changing of your behavior. The cliche is that the first step to solving a problem is admitting you have one. Sometimes we have to face up to our shortcomings in order to correct them. Think about this. Self-focused attention leads people to notice self-discrepancies, thereby motivating either an escape from self-awareness or a change in behavior. The idea is to reduce your self-discrepancy. By that I mean you want to become the more ideal you. Make sure that the ideal you is not a liar. There is evidence that this exists. It's not just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. The research says that when people are self-focused, they're more likely to behave in ways that are consistent with their own personal values or with socially acceptable ideas. So the idea is to get truth into your value system. If truth is part of that ideal self, then you will feel negative emotion when that is not what you are doing, and that should give you some motivation. You may not be convinced that truth is so important and or prevalent in our society. I'll use this slide as an example of how important truth is. A very old and very famous literary example I could use would be Dante Alighieri's famous work, The Divine Comedy, which is more commonly referred to as Dante's Inferno. I bring this up because I've been working through this book for a while, and I thought it'd be nice to share this with you. In The Divine Comedy, to sum it up, betrayal is considered the most evil thing anyone can do, and those who betray will be severely punished by evil forces. I use this example because deception is a betrayal of truth in my mind, and not only in Western society either, but in most societies, truth is held as one of the highest goods, if not the highest. Time to change your behavior, but before that, you need to put valuing truth into your attitude system. For an attitude to be strengthened, it must be affecting self-interests related to deeply held philosophical, political, and religious values, and of great concern to friends, family, and social in-groups. Most importantly, research has found that when people are surrounded by others who are like-minded, attitudes become stronger. I remember learning about this idea. Financial guru Dave Ramsey said something to this effect. People who surround themselves with wealthier people tend to get better at handling money. So follow that example and surround yourself with honest people, and you may become more like them, honest. Most people would say that truth is important, but many people certainly do not act it out. In order to change your behavior, you may also need a shining example to remind you, or maybe you need a mantra, something you can say to yourself when you are having trouble with lying. I read a self-help book a few years ago, and I think this piece of advice is incredible. I do not believe this piece of advice was originally intended for application to deception, but I 100% believe it can be used for it. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Jordan Peterson makes the point that, and this is summing it up, people are more likely to follow proper precautions and instructions when giving medicine to their pet than themselves. You wouldn't want someone you're caring about to lie about how they're feeling to you, so you should not lie to someone else. I will outline a little battle plan for you. Try to start small. Really focus on not lying for a whole day, if you need to start that small. Then increase your timeline of telling the truth to 3 days. Do not lose your focus. Also, do not forget to reward yourself for your work. If you do not reward yourself for good behaviors, then you will feel as though you are doing fruitless labor. Eventually, being an honest person will be its own reward. Maybe you will be ready to tackle bigger problems in your life after learning not to lie, which is no menial task. I think repeating the phrase, treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping, is a great start to helping with lying and deception. If you become better at telling the truth, the world by default became a better and safer place. There's a lot of power in becoming a better person.